Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day, everyone. So, welcome back to Process and Methods for Planning. And using this video, we will discuss about methods and technique to evaluate land use plan with me, Randy Bayu Aditya. So, the contents for this video is the first, the concept of land use evaluations. Second one is types of land use evaluations, and the third one is the techniques and method we can use to evaluate land use plans, and the fourth is Indonesian's policy context. So what is land use evaluations? So I present here two pictures of, let's say the left maps is the existing map of land use. We can say this is T0 or existing or maybe actual land use. And then a team of planners from different backgrounds like economy, environmental planners, geographers, and others members of teams. They formulate the land use plan, or we can also say land use proposals within 20 years in the future. So the map in the center is the proposed land use for the next 20 years. So the land use plans or the proposed land use for the next 20 years is just visualized on the map, yeah, with all programs, implementation actions, investment, and also all components of plans of development. We will try to realize what we already planned. We try to implement all the programs so we can create the land use to be as visualized on the map. Yeah. But the future actually cannot be predicted. Yeah. We don't know what the actual land use will be in the future, but we can try to pursue, we can try to realize it by implement all the planned programs and actions. That's why the right sides of this diagram, I put question mark there, because we actually don't know what will we get in the future. Is it really same as we propose, yeah, same as we plan or not? That's what we call the land use, the actual land use for the next 20 years. So imagine that we move to the next 20 years, yeah. So let's say now is 2040. We see that the land use in 2020 is the land use in the past, yeah. So the left sides of map, that is the land use in T minus 20 or 20 years before 2040, which means it's the land use, the existing land use or the actual land use in 2020. And then in 2020, we created the land use proposal, we created the land use plans that will be implemented. So we imagine, we have a vision that in 2040, the land use will be like pictures on the map. And now, yeah, in the existing time, in the 2040, the land use existing, especially the red ones, is larger than the proposal. Yeah, the planned land use is different with the actual land use after we go through 20 years of development. And in this case, yeah, we evaluate what we have now, what the actual land use plan right now, with what we plan, what we propose in the last 20 years, yeah, 20 years ago. Also with the existing land use in 2020. Yeah, this is the concept of evaluations. We compare the existing land use with the existing land use 20 years ago, yeah, when we created the plan. Also, we compare the existing land use with the land use plan, or what we propose to be realized in the next 20 years. So land use evaluations always comparing at least two, the existing land use and the planned land use, or the proposal, yeah, the land use proposals. If possible, we can also compare the existing land use with the existing, or maybe the actual land use in 20 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago, yeah, in the past. So at least two comparisons, yeah, existing land use and proposed land use. If possible, we can also compare the existing land use with the land use in the past. So we know how the land use develops and how the success of a land use plan to be implemented. And now we move on to the types of spatial plan evaluations, or types of land use plan evaluations. There are two terms that you may hear about spatial plan evaluation. The first one is conformance-based approaches and performance-based approaches. Yeah, the first one is conformance and the second one is performance. So what is performance? Performance evaluations is assessing the process, yeah, the actions during plan implementations. And it will be easier if we have a plan monitoring activity, for example, like a yearly plan monitoring activity, because we need to understand all actions that related to the plan implementations. Does the program uh, is the program being implemented, yeah, or uh, how far the program implementations, is it just reach 50% or maybe nearly 100%, nearly complete, so we can understand all the process, all the actions of the implementations. And then we can say, oh, the result is not complete because the process is still 80% out of 100% action. So maybe if we take an examples for road infrastructure development, we can say that the road development is still 80% out of 100%, or maybe 8 kilometers out of 10 kilometers from the total length of plans for the road infrastructure. Well, in conformance evaluations, we comparing the results, the implementations, the already implemented results with the proposals. In conformance, what we highlight here is the mismatch, yeah, or in Indonesian we call it penyimpangan, the mismatch between results and the plan and the proposals. That is the conformance evaluations. And then we go to the land use performance evaluation first. So the first principal things about performance evaluations is we identify the progress of program implementations. Yeah, how far we implement the project, the programs, how many percent the program runs, and other information that we can collect regarding the process of the implementations, yeah, and to get the informations about how far the development projects, the land use control, and other elements of planning is being implemented. We need a lot of informations that comes from different agencies, yeah. It could be from the let's say agency for planning for spatial planning, or maybe agency for development plan. Sometimes we get it from the agency of public works. So there will be so many types of informations, also sources of informations that we need to collect, and it depends on the local authorities. Yeah, because the what is it, the responsibility for spatial planning or spatial plans is not the same from one local governments to other local governments. It could be in public works, could be in a specific agency for spatial plan. It could be belongs to development plan agency. Yeah, it depends on the structures of the local authorities. Then the source of informations is also various. Yeah, we can get the informations about the progress of developments from the program implementation report, for example, then annual action or implementation plan. And we can also get the information from government spending or expenditure report. Sometimes we interview people that work in agency that are responsible for spatial plan and infrastructure. We can also get the information from statistic data, yeah, numeric data from BPS, from the Agency of Statistics, or maybe the respective agency that are responsible for the for all the programs and actions that we are going to evaluate. Yeah, not only physicals, but sometimes it goes to, for example, agency of educations, agency for social developments, and other agencies that work and related to development plans, physical plans in one local government or one local area. Yeah. And to evaluate the performance of spatial plans, what we need is the first one is the list of programs and actions. So what kind of programs, what kind of actions plans that being proposed by the planners, we have to have a list of it, because we need to really assess whether the program or the action plans is implemented or maybe not implemented. If implemented, how far it's been implemented, 20%, 50%, 100%. And if not, we need to understand why the local authorities do not implement the programs and the actions. Yeah. Interestingly, in Indonesian context, in spatial plan product, for example, in spatial plan documents, we still call it indicative programs and actions, which means that the planners create a list of programs, but not all programs will be implemented, because the local authorities must be selected, must be selective in selecting the programs and actions. They need to adjust the types of programs and actions with the political leaders, with the regional leaders in that area, also with the budget. Yeah, so it could bring bias evaluations if the program is not implemented, if not selected for implementations. The evaluations could we can assess the program as not implemented. In fact, the program is not actually not selected for the implementations. So as a spatial plan evaluator, we need to really, what is it? I would say really critical, critical in evaluating the programs and actions, whether the programs that put in the implementation list and which programs that not put in the implementation list. And then we can, after that, we can start to assess the progress of implementations. And the second component is a time frame or timeline of implementations. We need to also be critical because not all programs and actions will be implemented in all year, yeah, during the implementation, let's say 20 years. It could be implemented in the first 5 years, second 5 years, maybe third 5 year, yeah, depending on the priority of the program and actions. So we have to make sure that the programs that we evaluate really belongs to the, for example, the first 5 years. Yeah, let's say we are evaluating the first 5 years of spatial plan, and then we have to select all the programs that will be implemented in the first 5 years. So exclude the programs that will be implemented in the second, third, or fourth 5 years. So time frame and timeline is a really important component for performance evaluations. The third one is actors of implementations, agencies that are responsible to complete the programs. We need to understand who is the what is it, the persons that in charge, yeah, the agency that in charge to conduct the program, to run the program. And if we find any mismatch, yeah, between the proposed programs and actions with the real agency that implement the program, we can give a note, yeah, give a critical note from the spatial plan evaluators that the actors change because the list of responsibility and duties of the agency have changed. So there is adjustments of actors of the implementations. And by identifying the actors of implementations, we can also go to the next deeper analysis. For example, we can interview the actors, the agencies that are actually responsible to one programs, asking why the programs is not implemented, why the program is not well implemented. In fact, within 5 years, it should be completed, but the real conditions is not already completed. So asking questions regarding the context, yeah, the context, or maybe the challenges, yeah, it's related to the fifth components, which is the challenges or obstacles. By understanding the agencies, we can create a deeper analysis, like interviewing, yeah, asking, observing the obstacles, the challenges that faced by the actors or by the agencies, so we can give more clear recommendations for the future improvement. And the fourth, this is also the important components of performance evaluations, is the progress of implementations. Yeah, how fast, how complete the programs already be implemented by one actor or one agency, or maybe multi actors or multi agencies. And we can use actual numbers to present the progress. For example, volumes, lengths, size, figures. For road, we can use lengths. For example, for land use, we can use size, yeah, hectares, or maybe kilometer square. And then we can also use percentage to understand the progress. Yeah. So this is 40% or of 100%, or maybe in size 40 hectares all of 100 hectares, for example. By using this unit, we can exactly measure how far, how complete the programs and the actions be implemented. Okay, and the fifth is the challenges or obstacles that faced by the agency, by the actors. Yeah, or maybe budget. The obstacles is about the budget. The local authorities do not have budget to implement the programs, or maybe the obstacles is the capacity of the staff, yeah, the capacity of the human resources there, or maybe the obstacles is the technology. They don't have the technology to implement the program and actions. There are so many types of challenges and obstacles in implementing program and actions. And if possible, we can also collect information about this. So the improvement, the recommendations that we provide for future improvement, for future development of and future implementations of spatial plan would be straight to the point. Yeah, we can go straight to the solutions and how to address the issues, the challenges, the obstacles in order to solve them and then create more or better implementations. Yeah. This is an examples how we measure the progress of spatial plans. We have a list of program and actions here, for example, and then we have timeline here, and then this is the data, the informations that we collected from different sources of information, different agencies, and then here we put the percentage. Yeah, we put the percentage to understand whether the programs be implemented. If implemented, how far? Yeah, how far the program is implemented? Is it still far from the target, or it's nearly reached the target? And then in the right side here, this is the conclusions about the implementation or the realization of the program. Is it being implemented, not yet implemented, or maybe not implemented at all? Yeah. And then a lot of sources of information here, from interview, from the report, from the implementation plans, and here also the examples of performance evaluations. Yeah. So we go to the second types of land use evaluations. We call it as land use conformance evaluations. It's simply defined as the evaluations to identify the mismatch of land use and infrastructures. And the mismatch is the mismatch of proposed land use or the planned land use and the actual land use. So we compare the result, yeah, the end result, the outcomes of land use and the proposed land use or the plan. And to do the conformance evaluations, GIS and remote sensing is there are two, I would say, mandatory tools that we need, because we have to compare land use and also infrastructure, yeah, from the actual land use and the past land use, also the proposed land use, yeah, the land use plan. In order to identify the mismatch between the actual land use and the proposed land use, what we need is of course, the first one is the existing land use, yeah, if possible, the newest, yeah, the latest existing land use. And to get the latest existing land use, usually we need the satellite imagery. Yeah, so this is the raw data is satellite imagery. And then from satellite imagery, we process it through remote sensing method to get the shapefile, to get the data that ready to be overlaid, yeah, that ready to be analyzed in GIS. So the first steps is using remote sensing to interpret, to create the shapefile data, the vector data from the satellite imagery. And then after that, after we already have the shapefile format, the land use shapefile, yeah, we can use GIS using overlay, yeah, the basic method to do the land use evaluation, conformance evaluations is overlay technique. And then after that, we can calculate the numbers, yeah, the numbers of mismatched land use or maybe infrastructures, and then we can conclude that or the number of mismatched land use, for example, for agriculture is 100 hectares or maybe around maybe 3% of the total uh, land use plan, yeah, for agricultural area. Maybe the length of roads, the mismatch is, for example, 5 kilometers. In percentage, maybe also 5%, yeah, 5% out of 100% or 5 kilometers out of 100 kilometers of mismatch, yeah, the mismatch of the implementations and not already implemented road infrastructure. So this is the illustrations how we use remote sensing to interpret the existing land use, the latest, yeah, the newest land use that we will evaluate. And then after we capture the pictures, we process it, and then it becomes a shapefile, and we can try to evaluate. We use overlay technique to evaluate the shapefile of land use map with the shapefile of proposed land use map, and the past land use map, for example, from 5 or 10 or maybe 20 years ago, and then we can calculate using GIS. And data needed to conformance evaluations, of course, all must be in shapefile format to make our work easier, yeah, because previously without GIS, we have to print all the maps and then we overlay the map manually on two sheets of papers using transparent paper, and then we draw which area is not consistent with the proposals, yeah, where the mismatch of land use happens, and then we manually calculate the size of the land. Using GIS, our works will be much easier as long as we have the shapefile formats of existing land use plan, existing land use, the land use plan, yeah, the spatial plan, and also the land use from the past, yeah, the past land use. And then using three types of shapefile, we can try to overlay. The main technique here is overlay. Overlay is putting two maps on the exactly same positions in order to compare the legend, yeah, the expressions on the map, the color, the polyline, the symbols and stuff. In GIS, ArcGIS, ArcMap, or maybe QGIS, overlay is actually a basic feature that we can use. The functions is very clear, how we can put two maps together, yeah, put two maps together, and then we can compare or maybe combine two different informations, or maybe same informations but uh, in different timeline, yeah, for land use evaluations we use same information. The information is similar, which is land use, but the time of these two maps are different, yeah. Existing and plan, or maybe existing and in the past. There are several types of overlay actually that we can use, but the most common feature or maybe operations for overlaying two maps for land use evaluations is intersects. Yeah, we can use intersects, or maybe we can use symmetrical difference, but commonly we use intersect to identify the type of land use within one particular land use type. For example, agriculture. Yeah, we want to evaluate agricultural land, so we pick agricultural land as the intersect input, and then we cut all the land use under the agricultural land. After that, we see the legends of all the land under the proposed agricultural lands. If we see that there is still, for example, settlement, yeah, housing land, settlement land, maybe urban land under the agricultural lands, we already identified the mismatch of land use there. So the plan to make the area to be agricultural land, but the actual conditions is settlement or maybe urban, yeah, maybe housing. So we identify the mismatch of land use using intersect. This is an examples how the identifications of mismatch between urban developments and the actual urban developments and the proposed area of urban developments. You can see here in the orange polygons here, the growth of urban developments exceed the limit of boundary. Yeah, so the authors here make the legend here as non-conforming, which means the result shows that there is mismatch between the plan also in the actual condition here. Not only polygon, we can also use the same technique, the same overlay technique for polyline. For example, this one is how the author measure and assess the conformance of road infrastructures. The authors compare which road infrastructures that is confirmed or consistent with between the plan and the actual conditions, which one is not confirming and which one is unfulfilled or maybe not yet implemented. Yeah. This is more detailed classifications of non-conforming, conforming, and unfulfillment. And if we go to more detailed zoning, for example, we can also see which area is not conforming with the zone, yeah, with the controlling instrument like zoning, for examples. So this is the examples how the plan land use is actually agricultural land or farmland, but the land use is actually urban area. Yeah, so it is assessed as non-confirmed land use plan because it should be farmland and agricultural land, but in reality it becomes urban area or maybe settlement area. That's why the author uses as the conforming, non-conforming land use. And then in the Indonesian policy context, there are actually three elements of plan evaluation. The first one is plan quality evaluations. The second one is the accordance to mandates evaluations, yeah, whether the plan follow the latest, the newest mandates. And then the last one is plan implementations. And this plan implementation is actually the method that we use to evaluate the land use, yeah. And here there are two types of evaluation that we need to do in plan implementations evaluations. The first one is conformance. Yeah, we identify the mismatch, the penyimpangan, the mismatch between land use and structures, and also the strategic area. Also the performance. Yeah, how far, how complete we implement the programs and actions there. So the evaluations, the plan implementations evaluations in Indonesia already adopt two types of land use evaluations. They are conformance and also performance evaluations. Yeah, that's all the presentations for land use evaluation techniques. If you have any questions, you can ask through log or maybe use email. Yeah, ask me via email, and then I will answer it and then post the Q&A in the log, so you other students can also read the result of Q&A, or maybe we can have a little discussions next week. Thank you so much. Have a good day.